This is the show that connects you to the Philippines. We just discussed some news from the Philippines earlier in our program, but also this is the show that helps you thrive and to survive here in the U.S. And you can't do that, you cannot survive nor thrive if you don't have credit. They say, ang tanging yaman daw natin dito sa Amerika yung ating kredito, and that's why this afternoon on the show, through the help of Paul Oster, he will be giving us tips on how to improve our credit. Paul Oster is joining us on the line right now. He is the CEO of Better Qualified. Hello, Paul, and welcome to Kababayan, LA.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
Paul, I guess, you know, the holidays, we just finished that, and we know that there's a lot of spending that goes on during the holidays. How can our spending habits affect our score or credit positively or negatively?
Well, just in the pure sense of the spending habit, unfortunately what most folks do is they go through the holidays and even their daily lives without having a budget in place. And then what happens is they wind up putting too much money on their credit cards. And the second biggest factor that goes into your credit scoring is called your utilization ratio. That's the ratio between your credit card balances and your available credit. And what most people think is true is if they keep it at about 50%, it's a good thing. Well, 50 is better than 80, but if they want a good credit score, they really need to drive those balances below 30% of their overall credit limit. So, for example, if you have a $1,000 credit limit, you would never want to carry a balance over $300.
And that said, Paul, I guess this brings me to my next question. We always hear this a lot. It is important to pay your bills on time, your credit card bills on time. But then at the same time, do we have to pay it in full?
No, you know, and here's a great piece of information that most of your listeners, they might not believe and they're probably not aware of. Actually carrying small balances on your credit cards is better than paying them off in full. So in the eyes of the Fair Isaac Corporation, that's the company that gives us our FICO scores. They like to see less than 10%, but more than 0 on a credit card balance.
Why is that?
So, I wish I knew the answer. So I've been doing this for 7 years, and each and every day I scratch my head when we learn new information and we figure things out because it's constantly changing and evolving. But that, to me, is one of the most baffling facts about credit scoring. They're forcing us to carry small balances on our credit cards, and it's better for your credit score. So that's a great piece of information for your listeners.
See, there's always a debate right there because I hear that a lot too. But then at the same time, some people are saying, you know, pay it off in full. But one thing that's for sure is you have to pay on time. When are our accounts considered delinquent, and when does it affect our credit score?
You're considered 30 days past due. That's when it's going to get reported to the credit bureaus if you don't make your payment before the next due date.
Okay.
So if your bill was due today and you paid it on February 7th, you would be okay. Of course, you're going to get a late payment from the original creditor. But if you failed to make that payment before February 28th, now you get a 30-day late payment. And here's another great piece of information for your listeners so they understand how devastating one 30-day late payment can be towards their credit scores. It can cost them up to 100 points off their credit score. So let's say somebody was fortunate enough to have a 720 credit score, which is a good credit score. One 30-day late payment could drive that person's score below 650, 630, even down to a 620.
Credit score is everything. So, Paul, now that you've given us tips on, you know, what affects our credit scores, how can we improve credit scores then? Paying on time?
Yeah, sure. The biggest factor is your payment history, so paying your bills on time. The second factor that we discussed earlier is your utilization ratio. Then there's a bunch of other things that go into it. One of the things that your listeners can do to maintain good scores is to keep their credit cards open and active. Unfortunately, again, the Fair Isaac Corporation, in their formula, they like to see 2 or 3 revolving lines of credit. Revolving lines of credit are your credit cards, department store cards, and things like that. So unfortunately, you have to use these lines of credit and credit cards. Closing a credit card most of the time is the single worst thing somebody can do to their credit score. We're coming up on, tax season, and people are getting rebates. And unfortunately, we deal with this all the time after the tax season. People get a rebate. They think they're doing the right thing. They have a credit card. They're paying 28% or 20% interest rate on that card, and they pay it off, but then they go ahead and close the card.
So
again, that
you're not
could
supposed to do that. Is it better to just leave it there without closing it and just not use it?
No, open and inactive cards, the only thing that they can do is actually keep a lower threshold on your overall score. So they might not be lowering the scores each and every month, but it might keep someone's score from readjusting higher.
Okay.
Open, inactive cards are not good for your credit score. Again, you need to keep them open. You need to keep them active. You need to use those cards about once or twice every 90 days.
Right. But, Paul, okay, running out of time very quickly, I just need one question. If you don't want to use the card anymore, what do you do with it?
Well, you need to close the card in writing. You want to close the card as the consumer. You don't want to have the credit grantor. You don't want to have the company close the credit card, because that's actually a negative impact on your scores also.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Wow, such revelations today on the show. If we have more information, we can log on to our website, correct?
Yeah, folks can find us at betterqualified.com. They can also call us at 888-533-8138. That number again, 888-533-8138, and we'd be happy to provide them with a free credit consultation and credit analysis.
Thank you so much, Paul Oster from Better Qualified, and we hope to have you back on the show. Meanwhile, when we return on Kababayan LA, let's talk entertainment. Don't go away.